I've lived in this neighborhood for 9 years. It's quiet, the schools are good, and my wife loves the walking trails. But if I'd known what I was signing up for when I bought into an HOA community, I might have thought twice. My trouble started when I decided to repaint my house. It wasn't some neon nightmare or artistic experiment. I picked a soft slate blue, clean, neutral, even modern, the exact kind of color you'd see on the front of a real estate brochure. I submitted the official color samples to the HOA just like they require. Waited the standard 2 weeks. Then came the response. Rejected. Does not conform with community aesthetic. Okay, fine. I figured maybe they had a certain palette in mind, so I chose something even safer. Beige with cream trim. Something that screamed suburbia. I even attached photos of nearby homes in the same scheme. Another 2 weeks. Another rejected. Too similar to neighboring properties. At this point, I was annoyed. But I didn't want to fight. I just wanted to paint. So I got real strategic. I went online, pulled their entire 63-page HOA rulebook and studied it like I was prepping for court. Found a color listed in their own pre-approved palette. Desert taupe. Sounds boring, right? It looked like a dusty brown gray. Something you'd paint a dentist's office. Ugly, sure, but approved. I submitted that one, complete with the official color code. 2 weeks passed. And the answer? Rejected. Color is no longer in harmony with evolving community vision. That was the moment I lost it. They'd rejected me 3 times, for no clear reason, and now they were making up terms like evolving community vision, whatever that meant. The kicker? Karen Reynolds. She's on the HOA board and lives 3 doors down, and every time one of my colors was rejected, I'd see her out front pruning her roses, smirking at me like she already did somewhere to go out. Knew, and she probably did. Her husband, Rick, bragged once at a block party that Karen basically runs the HOA. I was fed up. But I'm not the kind of guy who slashes tires or sets trash cans on fire. No, I prefer a slow burn, a legal burn. So I went back to that HOA rulebook. This time, I didn't just read it, I dissected it. I highlighted every clause, every loophole, every contradictory paragraph, and what I found was gold. According to Section 4.2.7 of the bylaws, any homeowner may submit an application for exterior modifications, including paint color, so long as it adheres to the approved palette and is not currently in use on more than 2 neighboring residences within 250 feet. And according to Section 4.4.1, all exterior color changes must be reviewed individually, and if approved, may set precedent for further community-wide adoption. Now that second part was the key. Because if my color got approved, and it had to if I followed every technical requirement, it could become a standard for the block, and the HOA would be forced to allow others to use it too, per their own rules. So here's what I did. First, I submitted Desert Taupe again, but this time with a notarized affidavit showing that no homes within 250 feet used it, along with official photos and timestamps. I cited their own rule numbers in bold. I even paid a $50 fee for expedited review, which no one ever does, just to throw them off. Then I emailed every homeowner within 6 houses of mine, using the community directory which Karen herself had posted 6 months ago. I framed it like a neighborhood beautification campaign, saying I was pushing to get a unified, HOA-approved color that would raise property values and simplify future approvals. I offered to help them with their paperwork, for free, if they agreed to consider using the same color I was applying for. Surprisingly, 5 of them were into it. They'd all had headaches with the HOA before. Some were still dealing with violations for minor things like mailbox height or trash cans being visible. This felt like a small way to fight back. I coordinated the timing. I helped them prep their applications, but told them not to submit until mine was officially approved. We'd wait, then flood the board all at once. 3 weeks later, after a delay that just screamed internal debate, my color was approved. They added a snarky little note at the bottom. This approval is conditional and subject to revocation if the color is used excessively, which of course wasn't backed by any clause in their own book, and I knew it. They were bluffing. I gave the green light to my neighbors. 5 applications dropped into the HOA mailbox that week, all for Desert Taupe, all within the approved spacing limit, all referencing my approval as precedent. Karen must have been fuming. And now came the best part. One of my neighbors who joined in, the Reynolds' direct next-door neighbor, Steve. He had a stucco house with chipping white paint and had been fined repeatedly by the HOA. But thanks to our little campaign, he got approved too. Within a month, the block started changing. Paint crews rolled in. 5 houses, all turning the same boring, dusty taupe. From the Reynolds front lawn, you could see every one of them, like a wall of HOA defiance. Karen finally stopped smirking. Rick stopped waving. The day Steve's house was finished, I saw Karen standing in her driveway, arms crossed, just staring at the sea of bland brownish gray she'd helped create. A vision she couldn't control anymore. And the best part, the HOA was powerless to stop it, because it was their own rules that let it happen. But I wasn't done yet. I had one final move, one last legal twist that would flip their smug co-central on its head. Karen didn't take the desert taupe takeover well. After 5 houses, including mine, were painted in what now looked like a neighborhood-wide homage to dry dirt, she called an emergency HOA meeting. She framed it as a concern about color uniformity and invited all homeowners to the community center. I went, of course, sat right in the front row. The tension was thick. Karen stood at the podium, fake smiling her way through a slideshow about visual variety and preserving architectural uniqueness. She showed photos of our newly painted houses, without naming names, of course, and talked about the threat of color conformity. Then she pitched a new motion to revise the HOA rulebook to retroactively limit how many homes could share the same color within a certain radius. Something vague, something subjective. But she made a mistake. She asked for a vote. And by now, I had allies. Every homeowner I'd helped through the process, they were there too. Steve, Sarah, the Nguyen's, even Mr. Patel, who barely comes to these meetings. And we'd coordinated. We knew the rules. According to the HOA's own bylaws, any amendment to policy required not just a board vote, but a supermajority of the entire HOA membership. 2/3 of homeowners had to agree. So when Karen held the vote and the hands didn't rise, when she looked out and saw more crossed arms than raised hands, she realized she'd lost control. I could have left it there, chalked it up as a win and moved on, but I wasn't just here for revenge anymore. I wanted accountability. So I filed a motion of my own. I requested a formal review of conflict of interest and abuse of authority by Karen Reynolds. I printed out emails she'd sent rejecting my earlier submissions, emails that used language not found anywhere in the HOA handbook. I showed time-stamped photos of Karen talking to paint contractor. Tours working on her own friend's house, which had been approved for a bold teal color just a month before my first rejection. I cited 2 previous complaints from other homeowners quietly brushed under the rug. Then I handed the board a physical copy of the HOA's board member ethics clause, one Karen herself had helped write. It was all above board, all factual, all completely legal. And it shook them. Within a week, Karen stepped down from the board. Her husband Rick put up for sale signs in their yard not long after. Word was they were moving closer to their daughter in Arizona. I didn't say goodbye. But remember when I said I had one last move? See, during my deep dive into the HOA handbook, I found something no one ever talked about. A clause about community theme initiatives. According to section 6.1.4, if a homeowner gained 5 or more signatures from neighbors, they could submit a proposal for a neighborhood aesthetic initiative, and if it passed a board review, it could become a recognized visual identity for the block. So I filed for it. I called it the South Grove Taupe Harmony Initiative. I attached glossy before and after photos. Talked about unity, simplicity, even included mock-ups of matching house numbers and shared mailbox posts. I pitched it like an HGTV project. The new board, eager to appear open and democratic, approved it. And just like that, Desert Taupe became the officially endorsed paint scheme for our entire section of the neighborhood. Not required, of course, just encouraged. But here's the thing. When homeowners realized they wouldn't have to fight the HOA if they used that color, guess what happened? 8 more houses jumped on board. By the time summer rolled around, our street looked like it had been professionally designed. It was cohesive, calm, and Karen's old house stuck out like a sore thumb with its dated yellow trim. I drove by it once after the new owners moved in. They were painting it. Want to guess what color? Desert. Freak. Is in taupe. Look, I know it's petty. It's just a paint color, right? But that color came to represent something bigger. A fight against petty control, arbitrary decisions, and the smug satisfaction people like Karen get from lording over their neighbors with technicalities. I didn't burn down the system. I used it. I read their rulebook more carefully than they ever did and made it work for us. Now, our block's the easiest in the neighborhood to work with. No paint rejections, no nonsense. And every time I pull into my driveway and see that warm, neutral, HOA-approved taupe, I can't help but smile. Because it's not just a color, it's a monument to beating them at their own game.